Holy globe-trotting adventure, Batman! Tiki here, and I've been watching through each and every episode of Batman the Animated Series for the first time. And what's this? Another two-parter in Season 3? Egads, and it's a Raj Al Ghul episode! I better get Dragon in on this!
My ears were burning. See, folks, in case you're not in the know, long ago I made a vow. A vow to educate Tiki in the ways of Batman the Animated Series, serving as his spirit guide to Gotham, in a way.
And tonight, we're talking about The Demon's Quest, Part 1. Alright, Dragon, this is a big one for you, man. You've really hyped this thing up to me.
That I have. What did you think?
Well, I mean, overall, Dragon, honestly, we're probably going to have to kind of break our little guise of, like, me having not watched Part 2, because I think overall, this is really, really great setup, but I think Part 2 is where the story really gets driven home. So I really think out of all the two-parters that we've gotten so far, I feel like this two-parter is the one where both parts work really well in tandem with each other, and they kind of are lesser without the other part, if that makes sense. Like, it really does feel like just one big epic narrative instead of just like, you know, like with Two-Face, it's like Two-Face Part 1 is the origin story, and then Part 2 is Two-Face, you know, doing shit. You know what I mean? It's like, this is very much just like one long tale with a big cliffhanger in the middle, and I very much appreciate it I appreciate that about it. But having said that, like I said, I think that Part 2 is where things really start to stick to landing. Part 1, though, is a really fun globe-trotting adventure, man. If anything, this is going to sound like an odd comparison, but screw it, because they did come out around the same time. It kind of reminds me of DuckTales in a way, with the globe-trotting element of it.
And again, they do share the same producer, you know. With
Right, exactly. So, so I was kind of getting a little bit of a DuckTales vibe with this one, I'm not gonna lie. DuckTales with a much, much, much cooler villain than anything that DuckTales ever came up with.
Yeah, but this overall, this is the first time you got to see a kind of Raj Al Ghul kind of like you know proper. I mean, of course, you've seen Batman Begins, and you've seen kind of the Liam Neeson take on a Raj Al Ghul, and you've seen a little bit of Raj, you know, through Gotham and so on and so forth.
Right.
You got to see kind of like Raj Al Ghul, like, essentially adapted from the page to the animation. That's pretty big for you.
Well, I tell you one thing, Dragon. You were hyping up the fact that he always calls Batman detective, and that is definitely one thing that really sticks and is just a great part of the character. The respect that Raj shows for Batman throughout this whole thing. The fact that he considers Batman's bath ceremonial. I mean, we'll get to that in Part 2, I think, but, you know, regardless.
Okay, time for a little bit of context.
All right.
So this was directed by the great Kevin Altieri, who again did a very famous two-parter in Two-Face. He directed Two-Face, and he directed On Leather Wings. The writer on this is very special, Tiki. I mean, very special. This was written by Denny O'Neil, the original writer of the story, the man who essentially co-created Raj Al Ghul. Denny O'Neil. Nice, the Mount Rushmore of the Batman writers. I mean, there's so many things I could credit Denny O'Neil with right now. I'm going to keep it brief. He's kind of he's the author of The Unpredictable Joker of the 70s, which kind of gets us everywhere onwards. Like the unpredictable quality we love about the Mark Hamill Joker, that doesn't exist without Denny O'Neil. Mm-hmm. And also a big thing, the big credit that Denny O'Neil has with Batman as a character is he brought Batman back to the 40s. Like coming out of the 60s, Denny O'Neil's brought on board in the 70s, and what he does is he brings Batman back to kind of the detective version of Batman. It's kind of the old kind of vigilante detective, which then eventually gets us to Frank Miller. So we don't have Frank Miller without Denny O'Neil kind of putting his foot in the door, so to speak, in terms of the writing. So he's very important in that regard. It's like, how do we take the Adam West Batman seriously? That's Denny O'Neil there.
Gotcha.
Our studio worked on this. Oh my goodness, this is like TMS. Oh, it's TMS, and TMS just. Oh my goodness, they're doing such a great job. TMS at the top of the height of their powers, one could say. TMS, of course, is give you a point of comparison again with the kind of the runner of the two-parters here. Two-Face Part 1 was a TMS episode, which again looked fantastic. And I told you, Tiki, season
Especially
3.
that one iconic shot.
Oh, you know it. That's what I'm saying. So season 3 TMS is coming back with a vengeance, man. You're going to see them popping up a lot till they're almost entirely the animation studio when we get to season 4. That's what I'm talking about. TMS just this is where they're really. This is where they're reaching kind of the peak, man. They're reaching like how could it get any better than this TMS? So also, I want to highlight the music on this because one of my favorite composers, the Sons of Shirley Walker, if you want to kind of give him a name, Mike McQuistion. He does the score for this. He was my guy from the animated series. He did my favorite scores. He did I Am the Night, which of course, whenever I think of that climax from I Am the Night, I'm thinking of the Mike McQuistion score. And he did it there, and I love the score to this one. So, the music in this is some of my favorite from Batman, the animated series. It's great. Okay, so here's what you need to know. So this adapts the introduction of Ra's al Ghul from the comics, which is Batman number 232, The Daughter of the Demon. First appearance of Ra's al Ghul. I don't know if you know this. The Ra's al Ghul, when he's created, it was a name that kind of created him. The editor of DC Comics, Julius Schwartz. He basically pulled aside kind of the dream team, kind of the Snyder and Capullo of their day. O'Neill and Adams says, okay, guys, we need a new villain for Batman. Want to shake things up a little bit here. I want you to do a character by the name of Ra's al Ghul, which translates to the demon's head. It's Arabic. Let's use that, and basically gave him kind of like the Bond villain kind of moniker there. And then Danny O'Neill really ran with it and fleshed it out, and Adams kind of brought it to life. That's kind of the backstory of creation of Ra's, and of course definitely had legs to stand on come the time of Nolan and so on.
Cool.
So one last thing. So Denny O'Neill, here's how he gets involved in the episode. So Denny O'Neill, he was as the animated series definitely made a splash in the first season. Definitely kind of impressed a lot of people. And of course, when they're getting things together, they're showing some talent they want involved on the show. They want the blessing of, and that would include Denny O'Neill in the offices of DC Comics. Essentially, he, like everyone else, was sold by just the opening of the show. Okay, these guys want to see what they're going to do. I'm impressed. So I presume he was like consulting on season 1 for a few episodes because they do Appointment in Crime Alley, which adapts one of his stories. Again, he's not writing by that point, but there's adapting his stuff.
Right.
And here, this is funny. Remember Sean Catherine Derrick, the lady who wanted the kind of the very PC animation?
Oh yes, I do. Oh man.
But she wanted the cycling in the back cave. She wanted all that sort of stuff. She was like the environmental animal enthusiast side of Catwoman. That whole
She was
thing.
almost kind of like, let's say, the Carol Baskin of the animated series.
Well, let's not.
without the potential murder of the husband.
I wouldn't go that far with it, but if it helps, sure.
Yeah, it does help, Dragon. It does help.
Okay, my point is Sean Catherine Derrick. Important takeaway here. She wasn't a Batman fan when she worked on the show. She worked on the Smurfs beforehand, like right before Batman.
Oh God.
Series. And again, it's like we're looking for people who have experience in the animation industry, and at that time they bring her in, and then she researched. Don't get me wrong, she researched the character, but again, she didn't know it. She wasn't like a deep, passionate, kind of like she wasn't invested in it, and that's why there's kind of the tonal imbalance at points in the first season with I've got Batman in my basements, that sort of, the forgotten, those sort of like Sean Catherine Derrick pulls. Anyway, so she met with Denny O'Neill, and Denny O'Neill was not impressed by the Smurfs bona fide, as it were. So by the time seasons 2 and 3 come around, Marty Pasco, he's kind of the chief editor in the room for the story editor in the room, and he meets with Denny O'Neill, and that Denny O'Neill's impressed, and he brings along Paul Dini and Bruce Timm. They're all chatting, they all they know the universe, he's really won over to the point, I assume, where he's like, hey, I assume in season 1 they're maybe courting him, so like we're thinking about bringing in Ra's al Ghul, but not quite yet. Do you think you'd be interested in that sort of thing? I imagine by the time they get to season 3, after success of season 1, season 2 massive success, especially with the villains, let's kind of mirror the comics here, where we have the kind of the house brand names of Batman villains. Let's change the game. Let's shake things up. Season 3, let's bring in Ra's al Ghul. They do that. They bring in the guy overseeing the adaptation of his own story, and I tell you, Tiki, you look at this and you look at the comic, it's like pretty much part 1 is pretty much that one issue. It's very faithful. Very small alterations made, but it's faithful. I would argue kind of better than the original source material. It's really good.
I believe you.
All right, all that jibber jabber aside, let's just jump right into it, man. Let's go into it.
All right, we got a lot to cover, Dragon. So let's maybe try and make this make this less wordy than that intro, Dragon, although, with all due respect, there was a lot to get to, so.
Right.
Okay, so we start at Gotham University, Dragon. Dick Grayson, coming home in the rain from a long day's work. And, Dragon, things aren't going well for Dick Grayson. This isn't Robin's night, is it?
No, it isn't. I love, the dark and stormy night, the tonal atmosphere. We see, the Flying Grayson posters and the photo of Bruce Wayne. Everything we need to know visually is in this scene. So he's coming back, but the lights are snapped on. Robin's caught by who is the question. A man in an Anubis mask is waiting for him and trank darts him. Robin goes down like a sack of flour, man. It's not good.
Dragon, this leads to a title reveal. And what do you think of this? Just how unorthodox this is in terms of, the structure. I don't want to spend 5 minutes on this or anything, but I do think it's interesting that we get the title card against the wall of the Batcave instead of the title card standing alone. I think that kind of it sort of puts an immediate heft on the stuff going on.
Let me tell you something, Tiki. This is the first time we've ever had a cold open for a Batman episode. First time it's ever happened, and the only times we've ever done what you're talking about, where we're not using the title card, we're just kind of playing it over the episode. We've only done it with two of the best episodes of the animated series, Heart of Ice and Laughing Fish. That gives you a good clue what we're in for.
Dragon, is it because of a time thing, or is it just because they think the episode's so good that they don't need the title card? Darn it, they want to have the dramatic cold open.
Honestly, I think it's a bit of both. I think primarily it's a time thing, because, a little time goes into creating the title card, but also they need time for the episode, especially if it's a two-parter, I'd imagine. And Laughing Fish, I think it was an aesthetic choice. Heart of Ice is probably just we're just going to have snow falling in the background, and, that's the thing. I think it's a little bit of both there. Okay. So, Batman returns on the Bat-Cycle. He's been scouring Gotham for Robin for 2 days now. He can't find Robin. That's going to be a big thing by the time we get to, way down the line Batman. If he can't find Robin for a couple days, something really bad usually happens to a Robin. So, yeah.
I love Alfred. He's got such a small bit in this episode, but
I know.
But I really like it, though, because it tracks with everything, Alfred and I want to say Alfred and Dick, but that sounds inappropriate. Alfred and Robin have had, a very kind of father-son sort of dynamic going on, where Bruce is maybe Robin's older brother figure, kind of a big brother to Robin. Alfred very much is the father, and we've gotten that in a number of episodes with Alfred and Dick. So to see Alfred so concerned, it adds a level of continuity, I think, Dragon.
I know, and this is what I'm talking about, where we've now built to the point where you get to see fully, again, TMS, they do such great subtle stuff with Alfred here. You get to read all the emotion in on the character, and you get to see his thought process, even though Alfred doesn't really say much in this scene, where he's heading upstairs to await, Robin's call. Hopefully he'll call, just say where he's been. Again, the worried father's waiting for the kid to return home at night, that sort of thing.
Exactly.
He delivers an envelope to Bruce that was addressed to Bruce Wayne, which is important. Then we have, and you guys, I'm talking about the McQuishkin score here, is the haunting music plays, it's like a music that gets right to the core of Batman's heart in the moment here, what he's thinking. Then we have Alfred's expression as he's the sad, helpless expression of Alfred as he walks off, I wish I could help him. I wish I could help my master right now feel less burdened, and I wish the boy was home right now, but I can't do anything. He solemnly closes it. He lowers his eyes and he walks off. It's yes, that's perfect Alfred animation right there. Mm-hmm. Yes. There's something so cinematic about this episode. I love it. It feels like we got a mini Phantasm in 2 parts. I love it. Okay.
Totally.
Okay, so Batman with the cowl down. Again, so rarely, I'm not going to say it's the first time, but this is one of the very rare times we get to see Batman with the cowl down in the Batcave, and it's always a great look.
Mm-hmm.
So he's looking at the photo.
And of course, this episode is going to, throughout the 2 parts, it's going to give us Batman in a lot of different variations of cowl, no cowl, only cowl.
Oh, yeah.
So good.
Let's see. So, of course, again, great facial animation, too, because sometimes, depending on the animation studio, when you get TMS, it's going to be perfection, but sometimes you're going to have, Bruce Wayne just has, kind of the dots for eyes, sometimes he has the white on the eyes, it was so hard for them to do, they redesigned him for Season 4, but it looks great when they get it perfect like this, again, using kind of the Phantasm style almost here, where it's Sorry, I'm not. I'm going to try not to go to that well too much, but
No,
let me rein it
it's
in.
fine. It's like the episode does very much read like a mini Phantasm in a lot of ways.
What
So
I'm saying is like basically that Phantasm in
I
this
mean,
is so
including the
perfectly.
love story, honestly.
I know that's what I'm saying. It's hard for me not. That's what I'm saying. Like he's just so perfectly on model, just like again, Phantasm being the blue meth of Batman. Batman done
Right.
perfectly, like the 99 to 100% perfection, if you will. So okay. Anyway, so he's looking at the photo, and we see his reaction, like, "Oh no!" When he sees the photo of Robin captured, tied up, being held hostage, and the note says, "Dear Batman." Of course, it's addressed to Bruce Wayne. "Dear Batman, save him if you can." Then we see Batman so pissed off, like, "Oh man, Robin's in danger, and I ain't gonna stand for that." Then we have the awesome reveal of one of my favorites, Ra's al Ghul and Ubu in the Batcave. They outbat entranced Batman.
Yes, yes. How good is that?
Oh my
What do you
god.
think of Ubu, Dragon? Because I got to admit, Ubu is probably my least favorite element of the two-parters.
Really? I thought you were gonna love Ubu.
I kind of appreciate the runner of like the infidel, but to me, I was honestly just as annoyed as Bruce Wayne was with the infidel thing. I was just kind of like, all right, this guy is very one note with the infidel.
I don't know. I got a soft spot for Ubu, and it's the fact that he thinks he can. It's kind of the machismo. He thinks he serves a great master. He thinks he can stop Batman, no trouble. And of course, it's quite the opposite. We, the audience, know, but Ubu does not. He's always kind of he's always in a contest with trying to prove himself better than Batman in a sense. I don't know.
I mean, it is kind of a fun sort of like rivalry, you know.
Yeah.
It's almost kind of like a bratty younger brother or
Yeah, that's what
something
I'm
like
saying.
that.
He's like he's a little jealous that again, if the master's looking for an heir, he doesn't go to Ubu, he goes to this guy.
Right, right. I can see that. I guess like I said, if anything, it's just the fact that the word infidel was thrown around so much. It was kind of just a little bit repetitive.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, when you see Ubu again, he doesn't really do the infidel thing so much. So I don't
That
know.
does make me feel a little better.
Yeah. I don't even know if he even says it going forward. Maybe like once in a blue moon, but I don't think he really does after
Because
this.
they really make a point of it, Dragon.
Yeah. Well, you're not wrong. Okay, so let's see. So again, Ra's and Ubu, they're in the court, they're in the cave, and obviously Batman, he's not happy about intruders. So then, of course, like Ra's just enters again with that wonderful David Warner voice. Oh my goodness, I love David Warner and as a performance as this character. Says, so they know your identity, detective, and of course. That means he's Kevin Conroy gives some of his finest performances in this two-parter too, because I love, especially I think part one even more so with his performance. He's great in the whole of the piece, but Kevin Conroy gives some. Only Andre Romano get a performance like this out of Kevin Conroy, where he had him like, "How did you get in here?" He's so ticked off. He's so into the material. Batman's like beginning to charge at him. Ubu throws a knife, and then again David Warner comes in for the scene here. You must forgive Ubu, detective. He is well trained. Then Ra's introduces himself, and this is my. Whenever I think of Ra's al Ghul or think about the David Warner voice, I always think about this line right here. It says, "Allow me to introduce myself. I am he who is called Ra's al Ghul." How did you feel about Warner in the period? How did you feel?
Oh, I mean, I don't know what to say, man. He's fantastic. I think he's got a lot of clout. He really carries himself with a lot of dramatic weight behind him. A very Shakespearean villain. I love his design. Of course, like you said, I'm already very familiar with Ra's al Ghul as a villain. So, but this I do think is very much kind of like, if we're using the blue meth comparison, this really does feel like the best version of this guy.
And again, I told you, this was my barometer for Ra's. So when I think I've told you this story before. When I went into Batman Begins, I was just kind of watching through it intermittently as it was kind of coming on TV one time. I was like, hey, look, it's this guy, like Liam Neeson, the Ducard character. Man, it's a shame this guy isn't playing Ra's al Ghul because he's perfect for it. Then, of course, we get the reveal, like, oh my god, he's wearing the green the whole. Yes. So it was,
exactly.
That's what I'm saying. This was always my barometer for like the perfect Ra's. He has the Bond villain sophistication and the wisdom that you buy. Batman also respects in kind, and that's what I love so much about him. And of course, Dave Warner. We also have another Dave Warner. Of course, we also know from Freakazoid playing the Loeb, and I just love that you have a villain like this, and you also have kind of like the lampoon of a villain like that in the Loeb, which is so funny.
Sure.
All right. Okay.
All right.
Or Batman.
So basically, this is where we get the reveal of him being Talia's father, right?
Yes, Batman says I love Batman just translates it on the spot. Ra's al Ghul, the demon's head. I thought you were a legend. I assure you, I'm quite real. So then he reveals that basically your ward and my daughter were both abducted on the same night. Shows in the photo, which shows he's speaking the truth here. And then we have the Off Balance Connect, which, as you remember, we were introduced to Talia in Off Balance, and we introduced Ra's at the very tail end of that episode.
Mm-hmm.
So you do remember my daughter, and he says, you're Talia's father, and of course, this is as they say, oh yeah, you wouldn't expect her to mention me by name. And of course, Ra's begins his fit of coughing.
And Dragon, I have, it's almost kind of like a meme-worthy thing now, where it's like he's coughing and then everyone rushes towards him, and he's like, keep your distance, and I have written down in my notes, 6 feet apart! God, I'm sorry, I can't resist. Raj Al Ghul, man, he's a man who respects social distancing.
And yet, keep your distance. Absolutely. Yeah. Of course, he also is excusing it too. Says, keep your distance. I am merely older than perhaps you can possibly imagine. Again.
Yeah, that's pretty true.
Really nice, but not so old. Not so old I cannot assist you in your search, which leads to kind of a team up. Again, I'm already sold on this episode in Act 1. Like, oh my goodness, they're going to team this very interesting character we kind of teased up and Off Balance. It goes to show the animated series, when they build the continuity, they don't need much, but when it comes back in a big way, and it's awesome.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So now they're teaming up.
And that's what I'm kind of experiencing, like, I'm experiencing that sort of firsthand, going through it for the first time, and I am impressed with how much of a continuity it does build up, because from everything I knew about the animated series, every episode was very standalone. So, just small stuff like Alfred's affection for Robin or this Ra's al Ghul stuff is really going a long way for me.
Sure. Of course, I love basically the whole team up. Obviously, it's an excuse for Ra's to see, the detective at work, which again, he's just that's kind of why he's so eager to kind of team up with him and go along with him the whole route here. So he gets to see him at work here. Batman's like, well, look at the blade. He kind of works through just through a photo. It gets a really good lead here. If you look at this knife and the rope, kind of the hemp that this rope's indigenous to, it's belongs to a mercenary cult in Calcutta.
Mm-hmm.
Ra's is impressed. Well done, detective. You're indeed worthy of your reputation. To India, then. Of course, as they leave, what happens, Tiki? Batman tries to kind of lead him out, but...
Infidel!
As Ubu shoves him. Ubu's shoving people.
He's a shover, that one.
HR shoving stuff, that Ubu.
Oh, God. Forgive that one. Call it overzealousness.
And of course, Batman's response, and this is such a great runner. It's set up, but also a clue for
strike one.
I think I love that. Not only is it set up for kind of a fun gag, but it's also again a big clue to how Batman unravels things later. Is that he always wants to let Ra's out first, and that's probably for a reason. So it's so well played, so well plotted the whole episode. Okay, so let's see. So only I feel Ra's al Ghul's story should necessitate we take Batman out of Gotham. That's the thing. Whenever we take Batman out of Gotham, it should only be for a Ra's al Ghul story, in my opinion.
Sure.
Either that, of course, you have like your exception, like taking him to Metropolis for a crossover. Predominantly, it always feels weird when you take Batman out of Gotham. This is like the occasion where you should do a globe-trotting Batman story with Ra's, the original.
All right, so Ra's is pouring Batman some tea. Someone call Howard Hamlin.
Well, it's wine, Tiki.
All right, you know what? I'm trying to make a Howard Hamlin joke, and you're just stepping on it, Dragon. Thanks. I know it's wine, but I'm trying to be playful.
But then, okay, I'm going to save it. Well, Tiki, Ra's al Ghul's been around for so long, he might know how to turn wine into tea.
Ah, there you go. Oh my God! Imagine if Howard Hamlin had that power.
Well, he does have the halo in the.
No, think about it. Howard Hamlin could wine and dine his clientele, but then after he's done wining and dining, he can save all the leftover wine, and instead of having the hassle of like, oh shoot, I've got like a half empty bottle of Cabaret. Do I want to save it? No, he'll just make it into tea and drink the tea.
Yeah.
All right, now we're getting ridiculous.
Okay, anyway. Okay, anyway.
I'm sorry. It's been a long time since we had a good Howard Hamlin tea joke. All right, I'm jonesing for one.
Okay, getting back on point here. So I love that we take this plane ride, and this is what I love about the first episode. I love how we take time to develop, the dynamic between Ra's and Batman. That's what I really love about all of this sort of stuff in episode 1, where they're having this conversation in the plane where Batman, through dialogue here, and you gotta remember, Tiggy, Denny O'Neil, he hates doing the whole people finding out Batman's secret identity story. So what he did in the book and here so well is that he basically economized those 4 stories he's had to do for so many years into one line, in basically one conversation, which is just great. We're okay, he knows, and we have a really well-founded way in which he found it. As Batman's asking, how did you deduce my identity? Ra's, she has resources, and he's very intelligent. So what he did is he deduced that Batman required a lot of money, a lot of capital. He had his men just kind of do a calculation of the wealthy Americans local to Gotham, and Talia did see him without his mask on. Didn't get a name, but her description matched. Column A, column B gets to Bruce Wayne. Next time I'm gonna have to glue my mask on, says Batman. Haha. And Ubu, he's just, I love a little bit, Ubu's offering him wine, Batman's just kind of waving it off, like, no, he's just kind of not, he could have been a little bit more polite about it, just like, no, get out of here. So, importantly, Ra's health is getting worse, and that's the thing you can kind of track the episode. He's getting more, he's coughing a lot more, he's kind of a Walter White, kind of like on the cough chart, if you will. So, Ra's health is getting worse, Batman tries to go to his aid, and says, I need nothing. As Napoleon told me, a strong will can fuel a fragile physique. And again, it's a question of ego or again, truth within the statement that he would have known Napoleon, which we, the audience, know, probably did.
All right, so we go to Calcutta, Dragon. I must say, I'm really impressed by the backgrounds and everything in this episode. I like all the shadow work and the designs. It feels very ambitious.
I love how we signify the bad part of town, as in it's like nothing but alleys, which is like Batman's worst nightmares. Nothing but alleys and confined areas.
Right.
So they're heading for an incense shop, and of course, Batman again trying to lead the way to the incense shop. What happens?
What happens is doesn't Ubu do his little infidel thing again? Yeah, he's just infidel.
Shoves Batman in some pottery. Again, that's
okay. That's 2.
I just love a ticked off Batman's getting to it. His look, I don't want to have to do this, but he's just pushing me.
All right, and then dramatically, Dragon, some ninja type. I don't know what you call them, ninjas.
I mean, here's the thing. I assume they're the mercenaries. I assume they're mercenaries as well. But the point being, like, I think they're related to the Calcutta base. The point is, they're henchmen and/or mercenaries. They've been hired ultimately by we know who. But point being, guys jump Batman in the alley here. Yeah, and they fight.
Batman basically whoops their ass.
I love the combat here. I won't break it all the full thing down here. I just love how calculated and fluid all of Batman's fight choreography is through all this. And my favorite bit within the action is Ra's here, where Ra's, she's like in the shadows and he's smiling.
Just very much like observing. He's kind of like giving it like the evil eye, like yes.
Because good. Think about it. He's seen Batman's intellect at work. Now he's seeing his physical prowess in action, which is kind of what he wants. He gets the full package here, as it were. He gets to see kind of Batman in action. Of course, the score is really good in this scene too. Again, it's all really good. I love the design of the men too. I love we're kind of foreshadowing the shirtless bout for part 2 and all this, with these guys, and they have the really cool mask designs and they're wielding scythes, which is really cool. It's like Batman, basically the last, and this is a great bit too on the rewatch. Completely forgot about this, the rewatch, where Ra's tips Batman off to the last guy on the roof. He looks up with an eye. He's just like, hey, missed one. Like, basically, this guy's basically leaping down from the rooftop. Batman catches him mid-fall and pins him for the interrogation. And Frank Welker going, no! He says, yes, unless you tell me about who did this, as he pulls out the photo, asking for information on the kidnapping. So essentially, we get Malaysia. We're going to Malaysia, this pagoda in the shadow of the mountain.
Yeah, and once again, Dragon, it's a nice transition, and we're going just all over the world. It really is a globe-trotting episode this time around.
Really well.
We have forest with a bunch of birds and lizards running around everywhere. Good backgrounds. Anyways, So what's Rage going on about?
Okay, so this is one of my all-time favorite Ra's al Ghul moments in the animated series. I love this conversation with him and Batman. This basically gives you the mission statement of Ra's al Ghul. They're driving through essentially a rainforest, and they're kind of conversing about the rainforest here, where Ra's makes a case for his environmental terrorism to Batman, which again, classic O'Neill writing, where the villain has a point that you really can't deter here, where he says, the rich seek profit in its destruction. You and the overclass have much to answer for. In Batman's response, and I've always loved this response, where it says Bruce Wayne donates millions of dollars to preserve the rainforest. Again, the divide there, using Bruce Wayne as a mask to kind of like help the crusade here. And then Raish's response is perfect here, where he says, essentially, he says, your money depletes, and it's being depleted 120,000 acres a day. Does your money solve this problem? Obviously not, because again, to make all that money, you got to cut down the rainforest, so it's not helping. It's going to take power and ruthlessness, and I fear ruthlessness. Humankind must be forced to serve the planet, not its own priorities.
Its own appetites.
Appetites, thank you. Yes, it's not its own appetites. So essentially, again, this makes so much sense for a man who is defined by rebirth, as like he's been reborn for 600 years now. It makes all the sense in the world. That would be his mindset. And Batman's raising the counterpoint here, and you're the one who's going to do the forcing. And of course, Ra's being really humble about it here. Again, still a bit of an egomaniac with like the big quest that all dawns on him. I am qualified. Yes, again, the qualified...
I love that line. Yeah. It's like he's being humble, but still he's like, well, yes, I can do the job, but, you know, hey...
I'm qualified, yes, but I may not have sufficient lifetimes to let me. And again, it's not ego, but he is duty-bound. You buy it, though. It's because of what's the magic what Warner's doing here. You buy this man with all his fiber as being. He also has a crusade like Batman. Wants a crusade that's a lot more dangerous, a lot more kind of like threatening to people here.
Right. So they find the pagoda in the shadow of the volcano.
Mm-hmm. So Batman goes up the mountain here. He finds a map, but also a trap. So the door slams shut, and then again, this is like the example the animated series has done so well. Maybe following in the act of Denny O'Neill to an extent here, where we take kind of a 66 moment, but we legitimize it.
Oh yeah, totally.
Batman 66. I can't remember how they shot it, because I want to say Adam West actually went up against this thing, but it's probably a stunt guy. They had like an actual lion attack Batman once on the Batman 66 show. Somehow, I guess it was like a baby, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so point being, we kind of legitimized it here with we have like panthers. A panther was released, and it was a leopard in the comic, but spots are really hard to animate, so they made a panther. I don't blame them.
It's not a jaguar.
Well, now I'm just questioning my whole cheetah thing. I think you're right. It might be a jaguar. Well, the point being,
but the reason why I think it's a jaguar. Oh wait, no, hold on. I think you're right, because in the credits it says Black Panther growling. So I think you're right, Drake. All right.
Anyway,
I was going to say it looks like Bagheera, and Bagheera is a jaguar, but
I mean you have a point, but I think point being sounds like panther. Okay, point being it had spots in the comic, now it doesn't. That's the main takeaway here.
Okay.
Again,
but yeah, seriously, you do make a really good point about how this is some sort of like a ridiculous scenario you would see on 60s Batman, and here it's just completely legitimized. It very much is just like oh my god, Batman fighting a Black Panther, awesome.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. I meant to mention this earlier, but it's kind of throughout the episode. It's really present in this scene. Batman's suit, the way they animate, because of course Batman animated on black paper, usually
black.
What?
It's like more black than usual.
Yeah, the suit's a lot more. It's like absorbing the shadows more somehow. It looks like almost like all black in a few scenes. It looks really cool, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does look cool, and that's kind of what I was talking about, how, the suit kind of goes through a lot of different changes and iterations through the episode.
Yeah, you're right. All right, let's see.
Right.
So, okay, let's see. So anyway, he's battling this panther. He's grappling with. He flips it, and he cleverly uses his cowl as a distraction, as it charges for the cowl, almost like a bull going for the red cape.
Mm-hmm.
He traps it in the cape and cowl, and he uses a knockout gas capsule from his belt to essentially kind of very non-lethally disposed of. Let me put it this way.
Yes,
He's non-lethally taken care of here versus the comic. You don't want to know.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I really don't.
Yeah, trust me. The point being, again, this is one time. These there's so few changes made to the story here, but again, for the better here. Like with this, we're like, okay, didn't kill the thing. Good. So.
Right. Ubu and Rage come bursting through the steel door. Ubu comes bursting through. Rage follows behind. I love that Ubu is strong enough to burst through a steel door, by the way.
And again, a clue for later. If he could do that, what took him so long?
Right. Alright, so anyways, Rage is just congratulations, detective, on thwarting our tormentors. And then Batman's just kind of nodding, yeah, anyway, sorry.
So basically, he
goes
to the map.
Yeah, he looks at the map of the Himalayas, and there's a faint scratch dragon, almost certainly made by a fingerprint, a fingernail tracing a route.
Yes, which basically now they have a location. They have a base. They have a location in the Himalayas. So I'll arrange for a helicopter. Then what happens, Tiki? As they're on their way up.
Infidel!
No. There's
I know, I'm just kidding. No, what happens, Dragon? Seriously.
So we have the after you bit where Batman's playing ball. He's trying to win some points with it. This is what I'm telling you. This is what I'm surprised. This word the
reason why I didn't care for him was I thought the infidel bit got old. All right. I'm sure he'll probably when he shows back up.
I'm not holding that ill will. I'm just saying we have fun bits after you, and Ubu gives a little bit of a nod, okay, that's more like it. Okay. Earn a little bit of respect.
Part of the Ubu stuff is when Batman directly calls him out.
Yeah.
Anyways.
All right, so now it's a trip to the Himalayas. Again, you can see, it's kind of built into the Ra's al Ghul story. It was the Himalayas in the book, and in that first story. That's why we're going here. But also throughout the years, when Ra's al Ghul's involved and Batman's training's involved, we constantly go to the Himalayas. Now you know why. All right, so basically the plan here is that Ra's and Ubu, they're going to head to the mountaintop. They're going to fly ahead the mountaintop. Batman's going to parachute out of the thing, kind of look for clues up the mountain. You kind of find out what's going on. The idea is that basically Batman's asking you, wait, so you're not coming with me? And again, the logic is, well, no, we're going to signal you if there's any danger at the top, and also you can try to find some clues while you're on your way up. So ideally everything goes straight. We're just going to meet each other at the top. So that's essentially the plan there.
So it's the third time, essentially, that Batman has been left to his own devices while he's traveling with these two.
Mm-hmm. Again, Batman being the smart cookie is, I'm sure that's not going to evade him. I'm going to file that away for later. It's kind of the Telltale factor again. That like Batman being in a Telltale game, he's going to remember that.
Oh, by the way, Dragon, I've been meaning to bring this up to you, but the second Batman Telltale game is on Switch now.
Really?
Yes, it is for a pretty decent price too. That's exciting. So now keep in mind, I have to finish a couple games I'm playing just because I literally don't have the storage on my Switch to download much right now. But I'll get to it.
Okay.
Anyways.
Okay. Anyway, excitement on that aside. Okay. So Batman, he before Batman goes again, Ra's. I love this. Ra's is about to give him the signal, basically the cue for the signal in case they spot any trouble. But as he does that, he's interrupted by his coughing fit. It's just getting progressively worse. And Ubu is saying, "Master, we must get you to a pit." And of course, Batman's like, "Pits? Wait, what?" What do you? One of your favorite Conroy delivery things there, where he's just doing kind of the pits, sort of the whole
peach,
that sort of thing. So Ra's is saying, ignore him. We have to remain on the hunt for the sake of the children, detective. For the children!
For the children!
Right, so Batman says, okay, if we must. So Batman jumps out of there with a parachute. He's on his way down. Let's see. So I love this. On the way down, as only Batman would, he spots from a distance a little gleam of a rocket launcher, which then launches a rocket, like whizzes past Batman and blows up the helicopter. And like, oh no, Ra's and Ubu, we only knew them. They were so compelling, and now they're gone. He and Batman shared a bonding moment, and now it's
Oh God.
So the point being, Batman now faces the gunmen who are shooting at him. Really clever thing, he unlatches himself here. Right? Also, a little fun fact, Ra's al Ghul, again, I believe I don't know if it's per Julie Schwartz, just the Times, there's a lot of honor Her Majesty's Secret Service within the Ra's al Ghul story, and obviously with kind of her snowbound kind of sequence here, I think a little bit of that bled into the story in the animation here. All right. So, let's see, Batman, he unhooks, he lands in the snow, he uses his coat as a decoy as they're shooting the crap out of the coat, and this is an awesome bit from the book. He buried himself in the snow, he pops up, he attacks the gun.
Yes.
We have my favorite bit where he leaps on a guy, and I love how the cape obscures him. He leaps on the guy, and he punches, and like, bam! He's out of it. TMS magic, baby. TMS!
I like how the skis go up, like, when he punches him, too.
Yeah. It's great.
All right.
So Batman finds himself in the mountain lair. He follows the trail of footprints up to the lair. He finds Robin, but it's a setup, and he's ambushed by 6 axe-wielding men. Oh dear.
Yeah. And this is very Batman Begins us, dragging him just being surrounded by the ninjas. You know, that's kind of what it called to mind for me. I love the moment where Batman like breaks off the handle of one of the axes and starts to use that as a weapon.
He uses like a bow staff, which is really cool.
Yeah, very fun combat there. I love how Robin's just kind of like watching back and forth nervously as this is all going on.
Yeah, I love the speed of motion within the animation. Batman gritting his teeth again. All the little touches that TMS put into this episode, so cool. All right, so of course after he takes out the 6 guys, ask Robin if he's okay. He's okay, but he doesn't know who grabbed him. And of course, the lights then come on, and the kidnapper in the Anubis mask shows up, and Batman says, "I do." And I love that we established Batman knew who it was before he unmasked him. So Batman runs, he pulls off the mask of the Anubis guy. It was a demon's mask in the comic, but there's like a standards and practices thing. But it looks cool regardless. Well, the Anubis mask is really cool. Anyway, you unmask him, and we reveal it's Batman, unsurprised, like hands on his hip practically.
It's Harvey Bullock! Yeah, Bats, you got me!
God, okay, red herring gags aside.
I'm sorry.
Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah,
it's a big dramatic moment. I'm
sorry.
Okay, the point being is Ra's al Ghul. So then, Batman, he basically unravels Ra's big plan here, Scooby-Doo style. He then basically does the destruction thing. Per Ra's al Ghul's request, I love that Ra's is asking, like, how did you figure it out? It's like, did you know from the start? So then I'm going to economize this a little bit here. So basically, we reveal the plane was on autopilot. The helicopter was on autopilot when it got blown up. And basically, Batman's known almost since the start. He's had a hunch since the start, which got proven throughout the journey here, where it's like, how could you have, again, really smart calls here. It's great O'Neill writing here. It's like, how could you have known how could you know they were both abducted on the same night, unless you were the one doing the abducting? I love Ra's is so encapsulated what Batman's saying. He's like waving his men off who are probably primed to attack Batman while he's doing this. Like, no, let him keep going. Of course, let's see. So you wouldn't... Yeah, I wouldn't go with you anywhere unless unless I knew you were going to lead me somewhere of purpose. Basically, why the heck would Batman go on a globetrotting journey with a stranger unless he suspected it was going to lead him somewhere? The would-be assassins, as you pointed out, every step of the way he was kind of separated when going up against the would-be assassins. Very coincidental, unless Ra's was tipping him off where he'd be at the exact same time. Really smart writing. And then the Ubu runner. Then there was always, this is like the most Scooby-Doo delivery of the whole thing, and I love it, though. And then there was, basically Batman getting his Agatha Christie on, and it's great. Then there was Ubu, always by his master's side, except in Malaysia. where you knew there was danger waiting. And Ray, she's deeply impressed, and as is Talia, who we reveal, hello, it's Talia al Ghul, voiced by the wonderful Helen Slater. Oh, always loved, Supergirl from the crappy Supergirl movie, folks. But she's great here.
Much more dignified here, yes.
There are a couple Talias in the DCAU. She was always my favorite, the first one. I mean, I know it's like the original's the best, but it's true though.
Well, I love how Batman gets really thrown off at her mere appearance, Dragon.
Yeah, and I gotta tell you, she's gorgeous here. My goodness, Talia's always been. I always had a soft spot for Talia, but here she just. You get the full, you get the love, you get the appeal, you get the whole. Absolutely. I mean, move over, Selena Kyle. Talia's entered the room. Okay. So he's asking.
So Batman just looks over to Dick, and he's just like ready to go.
Well, if you say so, it's just starting to get interesting. So then, take us through the payoff, man.
Yeah, Ubu's just like, the master gave you no permission to leave. Well, I didn't ask for any. And then Ubu, that just kind of takes Ubu off guard, and he's just like, I'm sorry, is this where we get the infidel thing?
Well, I forget if he's...
No. He just goes for a punch. He goes for a punch with Batman, and Batman grabs his punch, and he's like, and that's 3.
He crunches the knuckle.
And then he breaks his hand, breaks his knuckles. Like, I don't know if he breaks his knuckles, but really painful, whatever he does to him, throws him down. And Talia's just like, wait, I can't let you leave like this. My father meant you no harm.
Okay, so something really great about the scene. There's a callback to Off Balance with the Talia theme, the love theme for Talia al Ghul kind of plays here. Da-da-da-da-da. And again, this mirrors the scene where in Off Balance she said, I can't let you leave like this, and then she double-crossed him. So now she's saying it in a genuine way, which is really, really sweet callback there. Like, my father meant you no harm. And of course, Batman, again, it's such a great episode, so dramatic also, but again, there's a lot of fun. It's a very Raiders of the Lost Ark-esque, one could argue. There's some... Oh, yeah. He has a funny way of showing it. So then Rage
kind of shows. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, if you want to do it, by all means.
No, take it.
Okay. So Raish explains, my time is short and I have no sons. I need a man to assume my position. Why me? Because you are the most worthy. That is beyond doubt. That is beyond any doubt at this point. And because my daughter loves you. And of course we have this cute, oh my god, it's such a cute moment. Batman, like a schoolboy, Batman looks at Talia.
He totally is, man. He's just like, what? She likes me.
And she gives him that cute look, and I love how the hair obscures the one eye, and just is looking up at her. And again, also this is a Bond pull from On Her Majesty's Secret Service, where there was a big plot line about marrying the daughter, which the bad guy wants him to marry the daughter, which again is what translating the Ra's al Ghul, and played so well there. And again, this is very famous, where he actually in the comics he went through with it though. He did actually ended up marrying Talia to work with him once.
Right.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
Right.
The point. Yeah, go on.
So Batman refuses, much to Talia's dismay, and much to Rage's dismay as well. He says that means we must be enemies. You will regret this insult, detective. You will. And then he goes into a coughing fit. Really bad coughing fit. Yeah. Talia basically pleads with them, right?
Yeah, Talia pleads it's no game. It's and Batman says, "Oh, he's got a bad pulse. There's no faking that." Yeah, he's dying, all right. And I love what kind of gets Raish to that point too. That it's just he felt so offended that Batman turned him down. The really interesting thing, this is a huge choice that Batman makes here, which again, because of this choice, we get a second episode. So I love that. The offer that is made to Batman here, again, basically we're taking Batman's mission. If Batman accepted, it would have taken his mission global, out of Gotham to the whole globe. He would have had happiness and love, a little bit of a phantasm thing there, like kind of an Andrea Beaumont. He would have had a family in the Al Ghuls, because he would have had kind of a father figure in Raish. He would have had, kind of potential family he could have had with Talia, perhaps. Again, it's so many possibilities. And again, for all we know, Batman could have gone a non-lethal approach with the League of Assassins. It's out there, but he could have made a stab at it if he were the boss. But that's what I'm saying. I think it's at the end of the day, it's too much power for Batman, too much temptation. He can't just risk it,
Yeah, totally.
Right. So we're off to the Lazarus Pit.
Oh yeah. Love the look of the Lazarus Pit. It very much kind of has a Bald Mountain vibe for me, Dragon, with the the green and the jagged rocks and the bubbling molten and stuff like that. It's Really cool
This is
location.
your first glimpse at a true blue Lazarus Pit, my friend. You've always seen the glimpses. Gotham got it close, but this is like a true blue Lazarus Pit, man.
Uh-huh. Dragon's just like, oh, I'm so proud. It's his first Lazarus Pit.
I know, yeah.
We finally got in this far. Anyways.
We have. Okay, so let's see. So I love this. Basically, the Lazarus Pit, the way we visualize here, I love it. It's like this the primordial connection to the Earth. The idea is like it's bubbling. It's like carved in a mountain. That's where the location. It's in a natural location. Ratius basically built a layer around this place. Of course, we found these locations like 600 years ago, probably, and again, it connects to this location. We've been there for so many years. They're scattered and hidden around the globe, which is why we have a couple of them, a couple of chosen hideouts, all that sort of stuff. All right, so they lower Raish on a platform, and Robin thinks this is nuts. This is crazy. Like you must be crazy. It's a crazy plan. So Talia knows, like, I know it's going to be difficult to believe, but this is what's kept him alive for 600 years. And Talia begs, right. And of course, Batman, he's kind of a soft spot for Talia, and regardless, he's dead anyway right now, because he stopped breathing.
Yeah, so you might as well try it.
So they lower him, and then we have that great score plan, and the Raish is lowered into the pit by Ubu, and Robin, they lower him into the pit, and then Robin thinks, oh, we killed him, he's dead. And then Talia is like very, it's so eerie. Talia just seems really relieved, like, all is well now. Then we have the really, the really terrifying rebirth process. And again, remember how big a moment this is. This is like the first supernatural moment in the entire DCAU, the first time we've done something kind of supernatural.
That's true. Yeah.
So I always loved the effect the TMS did here, where it's this demonic fire effect. It looks so great. And this is where you get your Bald Mountain type stuff here, where it's just like...
Absolutely Bald Mountain imagery here, sure.
But this is where it becomes the demon. This is where, like, as far as I'm concerned, this is where the demon's head thing really comes from, because he's brought back to life like a demon out of hell, practically. Because the fire comes... Just David Warner screaming at the top of his lungs, and he's rejuvenated and thrown back to the cliffside surface of the place, and he's laughing like a madman. We get to see the unfortunate side effect of the Lazarus Pit brought back to life, but you become temporarily insane, which we're going to expound upon a little later. So Talia goes to Raish, but now again he's just completely mad. He's bringing her in close, he's laughing right in her face, and he's about to he kind of lifts her over, about to toss her in the pit. And then we have one of my all-time favorite moments in the entire animated series, the little moment. So it's glazed over, man. It's where Batman, he's going over to save Talia. He gets like kicked like he's nothing by Raj Al Ghul. His strength is a little bit enhanced in this moment. And it's just like, we get one of my favorite all-time Conroy deliveries, where Batman's just like, put her down, Raish, and we have the second one. And they try to recap in the second part. It does not hold the same water, because the music's swelling. And it's such a dramatic moment where Batman now is getting incensed and the music's coming over him, and he's just saying, I said, put her down. I'm not doing it any justice here, folks. Don't go by me. Go by the episode, man, when he just says, put her. And he's like, Conroy giving us all this screaming at that, like, Raish, like, put her down. Such a and that's the cliffhanger. Just the anger and the desperation.
Yeah, the desperation, and then Ray's just, like, laughing maniacally at the situation. Really good stuff. All right.
Oh, it's such an unsettling cliffhanger. Love it.
Okay, final thoughts, Dragon, really quick. Honestly, talking through this first part, I think I appreciate it a little bit more. I mean, it's not that I didn't appreciate it the first time going through it, but there's definitely some nuance there to what's going on here with the globe trotting, and I do think you talked me into liking Ubu a little bit more than I did on first glance. So like I said, I'm really excited to get into part 2, because part 2 is where we really get into the the master plan of Raj Al Ghul. But this is a solid setup for sure. And like I said, just in terms of the atmosphere and the mood of the different locales, it's top notch. I like it a lot.
Certainly.
I don't think I'm like in love with it. I don't think I'm in love with it the same way you are, but obviously you grew up with this episode, so it's probably a little bit of an anti-recency bias on my end of like, I don't have a big emotional attachment to it like you do.
Fair enough. All right. So final thoughts on my end, like for me, I think this and Laughing Fish are like the best adapted Batman stories they've done in the animated series. I mean, again, this is like off the page. One could argue better than the source material, like I would say with Laughing Fish. I mean, this is, again, it's always, again, this is the way to do it. This writer, he's being brought back on to, to do Ra's up right, and they're so lucky that we got O'Neill on this to like have a hand in the translation of it. Again, Ra's was so on the money. Again, much like Ra's Splash in the 70s, to kind of like spice things up once we get kind of like comfy with like the status quo of the Batman villains. And like it here, again, we have the Batman animated series villains. Like we can just go to the bank like Joker stories all the live long day. When we spice things up like this, it's something special. I mean, again, I've spoken to the quality of the animation. The performances are superb. I mean, again, we're on Phantasm levels here, folks. Blue Meth Phantasm levels of quality. I could go on, but I'm going to try not to. I adore this episode. Has always been and still continues to be my Ra's al Ghul benchmark. This is how you tell that story, and this is how you do it right. And David Warner's always, whenever I read the comics, Ra's al Ghul, I always hear David Warner's voice with this excellent performance that he gave. And when he shows up a couple other times in the animated series, good stuff there. Okay.
All right, give us your best bulldozer, Dragon. Take us out.
Talia in peril. Eco-friendly genocide on a global scale. Batman Zorro fantasy come true. Can the Dark Knight detective stop the demon's head, or will the devious plot leave the Batman dead in the desert with the rest of us? Tune in next time to find out. Same animated bat time, same animated bat place.
On the next visit to the animated Batcave with The Demon's Quest, Part 2. In